Hi guys, for those of you that haven't been looking up to come to one of Chris's seminars so far, Chris is the UK's leading emotional eating coach. It's the third time he's been able to talk to us this year. I suppose it's not the same talk for the third time, it's a different talk each time, and it goes alongside the material that we've got on the resources tab on the app. You can see all the two previous talks on there and stuff that's specifically designed to be read online, as opposed to just a video of a talk. So Chris, this evening is how will the changing seasons affect your emotional eating? I'll leave you with Chris.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Third time here. Getting used to coming here now as well. I'm so glad that road's open. That makes such a difference. Thank you very much. It's nice to be here again. So, how the changes affect season. I'm sure you're aware of this, but brace yourself. Tutu's coming, or winter's coming. I love joking. But yes, here we are. So winter is coming. Do you ever sort of notice how your eating habits change as days get colder and darker? Well, there's some good reasons for that. As days are sort of drizzlier. Even now, you notice it's got colder now, isn't it? It's a bit colder, now perhaps to get warm again. And even though nights getting longer, how that affects you, it just affects your mood, even if you don't have a problem with eating. That feeling get colder, you're changing nuts and what you eat. That countdown to Christmas has begun. I can't believe there are shops selling Christmas things already. It's like September. But what I mean is obviously winter's coming. Change that season. I'm bringing with it. You've got the festive times, and obviously you've got the occasional mental health flows that come with it, especially the colder months. It has a massive impact on your mental health. During this time as well, you're going to notice the change in appetite, eating habits. Okay, a lot of people do this. However, while it's common, it's not always clear exactly why that happens. Okay, and is it due purely to the change, or does it have more to do with foods we often eat in autumn and winter? Because that changes, we're not risen so many salads, risen so much fruit, It's actually a combination of all of these things. So tonight we're going to go through the burning questions. I'm using advice to talk about the best ways of fuel, and also how this impacts emotions, and also how we can look at if you do slip up, how we can recover from that, and how we can also just take care of our sort of mental well-being during this time. So, firstly, why might we eat different foods during different seasons? Well, as you know, our bodies are really intelligent things, okay? And they work to keep us regulated and balanced when the world around us changes. We've seen the change when we work in the gym. This is called homeostasis, okay? And it's a big part of which is that body temperature regulation. As our bodies intend to increase our internal temperature, it's colder, we often find ourselves drawn to more warm, comforting foods in winter, as opposed to the cool, lighter foods we want in the summer. On the back of this, you're going to want more comfort food. So when you have more comfort food, then you may be reaching for more highly processed food and junk food that can do it. And then because our bodies are working out a little bit harder to keep us warm when things cool down, our immune systems need that extra boost, to help keep us healthy as possible. So when you eat food or supplements, high in antioxidants, they help, as well as zinc, iron, and vitamins A, C, and E. All of these have an impact on the mood and how you relate to your eating. Now, there's also the fact that the change of seasons, as well as the seasonal celebrations that are coming our way, make certain foods more readily available. Okay, so if you think about it, you're coming towards the end of October, you've got Halloween, which now is took off in the UK, so guess what? Lots of sweets. Then you've got bonfire, then you've got the start of Christmas, then you've got the party. All of this thing is a change, and there's lots of pressures around us there. So, when you think about the cold nuts one, was it Starbucks? They have that pumpkin spice latte. Horrific amount of calories in there. But there's more bread, there's more, all sorts of hot chocolates, all these things are there around the senses. So, what's going to be the best thing that's going to help boost your mental health during these sort of colder months? Because remember, your emotional eating is driven from your brain. Okay? It's not driven by your stomach, it's not driven by it's driven from up here. So, winter is well known for the ability to lower your foods, okay? Due to those dropping temperatures and shorter days. According to advice from the Met Office in mental health, child in mind. It's therefore important that we do what we can to experience it. Again, you come here. This is a great place to rest your spirits. But again, it's important about the food you're going to eat during that time. So staying active, getting proper sleep, social interaction. All these things can help deal with this as we change the seasons. So do we tend to emotionally overeat when our days get short and darker? Do you tend to overeat in the winter? Do you find it harder in the winter than in the summer? Or is it a general thing? Is it a little bit more comforting when it's darker? Well, as I say, when I talked about this before, a lot of the clients I'm working with are complaining that those short and long days cause a problem. And when you think about the season change, those who suffer from sort of mild to moderate mood disorders, especially people with depression, can all of a sudden find themselves being more irritable and blue due to that brain chemistry. And that can affect just even your average people, okay? Because that's brought on by brain light, brought on by lack of light. And if you struggle with emotional eating, guess what? The lower brain chemicals can send you right to the fridge and the killers. There's actually a name I'm sure you'll know, it's seasonally affective disorder, SAD. Now, this is a type of depression that can tend to occur and reoccur as the days grow, okay, and shorten in the autumn and winter. Affected people themselves seem to react adversely to decreasing amounts of sunlight and the colder temperatures as the seasons progress. Now, the incidence of this disorder increases in people living further away from the equator. So again, where we are, our light gets shorter. If you go further north, it gets less and less. Now, as I say, these start to begin this time of year. We start to build now. SAD is about 4 times more common in women than it is in men. And while people are always in disorder that can develop it, the average age of people when they first develop it is about 23, which is quite young when you think about it. And then about 5% of adults struggle with this, and up to 20% of people have symptoms, so it's quite a well-known thing. And the symptoms of it can include depression, crying spells, irritability, overeating, especially craving carbohydrates or an associated weight gain that come with it, difficulty concentrating, tiredness, fatigue, poor sleep, decreased activity levels, body aches, all these things have an impact. And then while most people suffer with this, okay, there are small people who suffer just during the summer alone. It's something that goes around, but there are things you can do to approach this. Again, if you're feeling this thing, you get the immune books, you get things like that can help. And while researchers don't exactly understand the mechanism that causes it, again, when you get that bright light, it has that impact. When you can get more vitamin D, it has an impact. All these things can change your thought process and change it so that you're not reaching for food. It's the same. If you think the previous sessions we've had, we talked about the critic, we talked about how these things can be brought about. And what we need to do is try and reduce these episodes or reduce these things that are going to create the triggers for you. So, another thing that's important to do at this time is also try and reduce the stress. So obviously you're going to enter this phase, aren't you? You've got a long period coming, you've got dark nights, cold nights, you've got Christmas coming, you've got other activities coming. There's a lot of stress that can come on, positive things, a lot of stress that can come on. But if you look at focus on that and focusing on working on things that are going to serve you, working on things that are going to support you rather than adding to your stress. Because again, it's acknowledging that there's this dip, it's there, and why it's there. So when we think about this time of year, like I said to you, so Halloween, it's changed, isn't it? We now do trick or treat. We've imported this amazing thing from America. How many here actually get sweets ready for you at Halloween? Yeah, okay. What do you do with the leftovers? Now, if so, you're probably debating, what do I do with them? Do I throw them out? Do I put them in the cupboard, save them for later? You know if you put them in the cupboard to save them for later, what's going to happen? They're not the last way around, are they? Now, the thing is, you certainly don't want to eat that much sweet and chocolate now, okay? And you know it's not good for you or for your children, okay? Now, my children all, I never had the phenomenon of Halloween with my kids. They were all growing up by the time it became popular. I lived in Wales with other kids. But you then perhaps you get conflicted in getting rid of it because you've got this chocolate and it's like, the kids have got their pile and they've collected theirs and you've got this left over. It's like, I can't throw it away, what do I do? Now, the problem with Halloween, and the research done on this now, is quite often the indulgence of Halloween wake up those sugar cravings. Because if you think now, right, we've got this night dark, right? You've got all of a sudden this additional chocolate you never normally have in the house, and cakes and other things, and then you're going to lead into bonfire night and Christmas time. By having this intense amount of cake, sweets, chocolate in this time, you're going to wake up those sugar cravings. Even if you are fairly disciplined with your sugar intake for most of the year, Halloween can become that downward slide into that sweet treat overeating that will kick off on that, run through December, get to November, get to December and go, where the hell are the last 2 months gone? And you're like going, how do I put the stone on? And all of a sudden you've got this sugar addiction now. So, now, if you're like the average Brit who consumes 20 teaspoons of sugar daily, you very well want to suffer from sugar addiction. Now, I was surprised at 20 teaspoons, but when you start looking at what there is in food, you're like tomato ketchup, any simple thing, it's amazing how much sugar is in things. And the same, sugar is hidden in places you can expect it. Like I said, sauces, ketchup, soups, pickle, processed foods, drinks, health bars, everything has processed sugar in it. And even if you don't have a big sweet tooth, the consumption of like wheat flour raises your blood sugar more than table sugar. So if you're forgoing sweets for foods that are made of flour, like bagels, crackers, pasta, you may still be addicted to sugar and not even know. The truth is, right, we are all hardwired to like the taste of sugar. And the more we've gone on, we did the previous sessions, but there are companies spend billions of pounds making sure that the food is just right and hit you in just the right spot. Now, the problem is that some of us are more genetically prone to sugar than others. And because we have fewer dopamine receptors, proteins on the surface of the brain cells, they'll take these chemicals and make it easier. Some people suffer, some people don't. Well, some people go, I don't need chocolate. Or people go, I'm saying, they do it for like 6 months, right? They just stop because it doesn't affect them the same way. But what this means though is that we need more of a particular substance, like sugar or alcohol, to feel that same level of pleasure as someone with more dopamine receptors. Again, it has that place. If you are afflicted, you're going to need more, and you continue to need more time and time again. So, when you think of this, some of us need a lot more stimulation to feel the pleasure, and this can lead us to engage behaviours that stimulate the reward centres of the brain. So for me, I've talked before about my chocolate hot dogs, 1 was never enough, 2 was never enough, then 4, then 5, then 6, then a pack, then 2 bags, because I wanted more and more of it, because it didn't get the same high, I didn't get the same hit. And when you think about it, it's addictive behaviours like compulsive overeating, drug abuse, gambling, can do just the same thing. And those of us with fewer dopamine receptors are more prone to low moods and depression. So, are you consuming sweets daily? Do you add sweetener to a bowl of cereal or a cup of tea or coffee? Do you use artificial sweeteners? Do you hunt for sweets at a particular time of day? If so, perhaps you are powerless over those sweet cravings. If you are looking for things and needing that hit. Now you may be wondering, if I'm craving sugar so intensely, can it really be that bad for me? Well, you all know the answer is yes. And that's for many reasons. First and foremost, sugar increases your overall health, increases the risk of all those degenerative diseases, like diabetes, osteoporosis, heart disease, cancer, what? It lowers your immune response as well. It increases that destructive inflammation that leads to essential mineral deficiency. All of these have an impact on you over time. As you all know, if you're trying to lose weight, high sugar intake will act against your best intentions. Sugar increases fat storage because it encourages the release of fat stored hormone insulin. And with the continued high insulin spikes, triggered by constant sweet intake, the body becomes less sensitive to insulin. Okay? Which leads to that multi-familiar insulin resistance and that vicious cycle of more insulin production, more fat storage, or resistance, eventually leading to diabetes. So if you keep in mind that your attraction to sugar is not proof that you're lacking willpower or that you're already flawed, it's truly a matter of genetics some of the time. You most likely inherited that low pleasure sugar addiction gene that leads to few dopamine receptors. But when you start being aware of this, it's like with overeating, emotionally. Once you're aware of it, you can then take action against it. I haven't done anything. So, here are a couple of suggestions to help you with this. Okay? And these are also important when you're looking at this time of year. First one is establish a pattern of regular meals. Now, while I encourage clients to understand hunger and fullness cues and understand physical hunger, many tell me they don't feel hungry until midday or later. Now, current research that suggests that a longer fasting period is beneficial on some fronts, but again, if you are in the nature of binging, then the longer you leave it, the more your critical kick in, the more you're going to go, oh, okay, I'm starving, I'm going to eat. So again, looking at when you're eating is important. Have that regular pattern of meals, because then that will help you regulate that blood sugar. Try a 3 to 7 day sugar detox. Right? Many of my clients don't think they're addicted to sugar until I ask them to abstain for a period of time. They're often very surprised to find they consume a large quantity of sugar daily, and they find it difficult to go about it. So if you do decide to try a detox, you'll have to read labels. Sugar is added to everything, so you need to look and see where it sits on the label. If it's sort of 5 or below the ingredients, it's probably okay. If it's above 5, if it's in the top 4, then it's going to have to be labeled sugar. Okay? And be aware that you're going to feel worse the first few days, but you'll soon notice an improved sense of well-being. Now, you may struggle to cut out all the time. Why would you? It's all about balance, but by making a small change, you can cut back on what you consume. And over time, it takes for somebody to adapt to it. The third one is increase your intake of fruits and green vegetables. Johnson mentions all the time, I don't want to talk about it, but nutrient-dense foods help balance your body chemistry and they reduce cravings. Alkaline foods like fruits and veggies will help reduce that body acidity. And less acidity means less attracted to acid foods like sugar. Try veggies for breakfast, bowls of spinach and scrambled eggs or something. And again, try sweet potatoes or yams if you can. They satisfy the sweet tooth in a natural way. And then try adding spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, coriander, and cardamom to naturally sweeten food and reduce the cravings because they're just naturally found. The fourth one is to try and keep those sugary treats out of the home office, if possible. If not possible, make sure you've got healthy alternatives available. And yes, it is best to throw out all the Halloween leftovers or donate them somewhere else. Keep them somewhere else. The sixth one is sleep. Sleep is really important. We'll talk about this a bit later on, but research shows that we need to have 7 to 9 hours restorative sleep every night. Now, notice the word restorative. Not if you're tossing and turning, or you're lying in bed and reading your iPad or watching, scrolling on TikTok. That's not sleeping. Plan for that proper rest by turning off the bright lights, stimulating computer and television, and heading to bed a little bit early. And then, if you're eating for emotional reasons, right, learn to check in yourself. Right? Practice that self-soothing coping skills. There's some resources that John's got, and he'll throw some more into after the session that will help you just do that self-checking. Do that time and that time yourself and help understand what's driving your behaviours. So that's great. Okay, but what I want to touch on for this next section is how do we get back on track when we slip up? Because we do, okay? And this is important. This is also the third session, because there's a lot of information and lots you can take in. And nobody's perfect, okay? I'm not perfect, right? I'm still in the go, I'm coming back, how many years is it? Can't keep track, 5 years, no, 6 years in recovery now. So I slip up, I get it wrong, I'm not perfect. But when you do this, okay, the first important thing to do is forgive yourself. So I had a client today, and she messaged me this afternoon, and she's a teacher in a special needs school, and today she had parents in the classroom. Really stressful. And what they did when they did this, they had some cakes and biscuits and chocolates or something. Crazy, and she's been really well. Right? She's been really, really well. She went into Florida for 2 weeks, and she lost weight on holiday in Florida. It's amazing. And she's been messaging me, oh, this is amazing, I'm doing really well. And today something says, I'm a failure. She says, I just inhaled 3 cupcakes and 3 chocolate biscuits, and I didn't even remember doing it. And I just said, right, okay, that's happened now. Right? You've got to forgive yourself. And I said, the first thing you've done is you've told somebody. So there's no big secret in that. There's no shame, there's no guilt anymore, because you've told somebody. It's not eating Wednesday. So that was really important for her. It's like she told us, and I said, forgive yourself. And I was on the phone with her in a group call, I joined you guys tonight. And she was just like going, I didn't even notice it. So what we did a process of going back to the behavioural chain analysis. And okay, where was the first trigger? What were those links? Where can you find what happened? And it was, she could work it back to, it's a new class she's teaching, it's the first time his parents came in, she was anxious, she was the first time she taught this class a different year, and she didn't notice it. And then I said, okay, well, let's work through this process, let's go back. And she went back, and she actually identified the different places where she could have stopped this process. But by forgiving herself, she wasn't beating herself up, she could actually use the logical brain to fix that. What you need to remember as well, right, is recovery is not linear, okay? When you think about that cycle, you've got the obsession, you've got compulsion, you've got denial, you've got tolerance, you have withdrawal, you've got craving. And if it doesn't happen, you are dealing with all of these at different stages in recovery. So if you don't, it's not just a flat line you see it in weight loss, don't you? It's never straight up, and then you put the line in and you see the result. It's a bit like when you're training, you increase, a little bit increase, but it's never a straight line. And it's the same in recovery, is that these things happen. And if you think over time, what's going to happen is urges will decrease, but they never go away. They're still going to be there. So for me, this is complete honesty. I'm so glad I live in the middle of nowhere in the Lake District now, because last night I had these amazing urges for a McFlurry. I don't even like McFlurries, but last night I was in the car. I said, should we go to McDonald's? I was like, she said, why? He says, I really want a McFlurry. She says, but you don't like McFlurries. I said, yeah, but that's urge for a McFlurry. And it just hadn't happened over time. It's just, but I had it. Now, luckily I couldn't act on it. There's no delivery, there's no nothing. So, but I'm sure if it happened, I'm going to be like, listen, I'll be okay. I've got this under control now. I'm doing this so well. I coach people. You can just have one McDonald's. I'll be okay. Again, I just still have the joy. So again, you've got to remember that over time, this is going to happen. And you just have to be able to manage it for itself. The other thing is you're going to have lapses, okay? You're going to have lapses. They're going to, you can start, you do well, pops down, you do well, pops down, you do well, until you get to that point and you just level, and it works. And as long as you understand that, and don't beat yourself up, and go back to the first point I said about forgiveness, and then analyse what happened, analyse what was the behaviours, what were those triggers, what was different this time. Because when you do that, especially when it comes this time of year, when it's colder, it's darker, things are a little bit more difficult, use that time to evaluate what you're doing and what's happening with that. So, what happens when you lapse or relapse? Now, I think I said this before, a lapse is you just let something fall down. Whereas a relapse is where you go back to the very beginning and you're starting afresh, and it's like you've got a massive on the binge for a couple of weeks and you feel you've lost control. Now, you can stop a relapse, you can stop a lapse becoming a relapse by just taking some steps. Now, what you need to remember though is, even a relapse is in no way, shape or form a failure. See, relapses and lapses are part of that learning curve, and that graph I showed you before. And in any recovery, there's a chance of relapse, okay? It can be early recovery, so I relapsed a couple of times, and I've lapsed a couple of times since. I can have any time. I had a lapse May, I had a full on one day opinion, which to most people just go, you read a bit too much. But in my mind, I bet without control. But I appreciate that because I know I've got a problem. And countless people will lapse several times before they succeed. So again, don't lose hope on it. Just use the tools you learn and don't be defined by it. If you think about it, in many ways, it's harder for the food addict or compulsive eater, as food is everywhere, okay? And we have to eat every day. Whilst with alcohol, you can avoid pubs, you can avoid off licenses. They have alcohol-free versions of everything now, which aren't bad, They don't have a 0-calorie pizza, do they? They don't have a 0-calorie cake, So you can avoid that. Now, relapse, again, really means that if you relapse, what you've done is you've reached for your old coping mechanism that has stood the test of time in the past. Now, the problem or situation cannot be helped with your new system and things you learn. This means that the level of support you need needs to be increased. Or the stress levels that are causing this need to increase. But again, you need to be aware of this. Now, the more support you can get from groups, family, from friends, the better. But in recovery, you just need to make sure you're using your networks effectively. You're using the right format. You've got a group here, you've got a tribe here. There's resources, you guys all have access to me. John's got your access to me. So again, you're never on your own. And I'm always in the group. You've all got this tag in the group if you're struggling, or send me a DM. So again, utilising that resource, not being frightened to talk about it. Again, we have this massive fear of what people aren't going to understand. People just think greedy or what. People just go, don't eat it. Work with people who understand. Work with the group who can help you. And then when you are doing this, when you feel you've lapsed, ask yourself the questions: what's happened? What can you do differently? Look at the tools that are in the system that you've got online to do this. But the most important thing is being gentle on yourself. Really paramount. You do not need to beat yourself up about this. Lots of loving self-care is really essential. It's also important to stress that you are 100% responsible for your recovery. Again, if you remember the session last time I talked about, you are not powerless over food. So when you accept that, then that's important. Okay? And maybe that certain situation you face will bring up recent or past or traumas. Again, if that's something you need to think, well, what's triggered that and where do I need help to deal with that? But remember, you don't need to deal with that to stop your emotions. They're two separate things. And again, just be conscious that how you're feeling emotionally, and what can you do about that, and how do you change. But again, you can reframe so many things. So, when you think about this, lapses rarely happen just like that. Okay? The fork in the road that took you from everything's alright to I'm going to gorge myself on these cakes that I bought and this pizza and just going off the lettuce for the weekend. There's normally a road. It could be weeks, days, hours before it happens. Okay? And quite often I term this as an emotional or mental relapse, followed by a physical relapse. So signs to watch out for yourself if you're seeing this is, or with people you love, people you know have this problem. Lack of self-care, exhaustion. Life doesn't feel like fun anymore. You start focusing on others. They start being irritated with themselves, and you'll hear it in the conversation. Then restless in action and thought. Then you start rose-tinted spectacles about the past. It's all of a sudden start not taking time out for yourself, or for the person who knows it. You start isolating. You start having negative thinking. You're less joyful. You self-abandonment. You start having this negative judgment of others. You have an inability to ask for help. You get anxiety, confusion, depression. Your sleep starts being disturbed. You start having a playing game. You start getting lots of self-pity. You start getting very defensive. You stop not turning up for coaching sessions. Okay? You start isolating from friends and family who are normally there to support you. You start talking about craving and trigger foods. You minimise the consequences of past binging by going, really wasn't like that. I did have that under control. Get to see the critic talking. you're not going to be forthcoming about it. You start going mental emotional turmoil. You start getting some really rigid thinking. If it's my way or the highway, you start feeling lack of self-worth. You start getting fear from nowhere. Then you start getting a physical relapse. This is when you start thinking that your food plans aren't diet comes away. You start missing meals to catch up. You're not checking trigger ingredients of food, you're just eating anything. You start adding trigger foods. You are introducing alcohol or caffeine. You start eating bigger portions. You're not eating regularly, it's less structured. You're creating more alone time to eat. Start eating later. You're hungry even after a full meal, you're not feeling satisfied. You're thinking it's okay to just have a bit of this and a bit of that. You start having sugar fantasies. You have an ability to stop eating. You're losing interest in healthy food and alternatives. You're going food shopping and you're picking up that one packet of biscuits just for you to be okay. Now, if you start moving into a full-blown food addiction, it's important to identify these signs. Because and notice the language that you're talking, or if you think somebody you know has got this problem. Look at your behaviour or their behaviour. How do you view yourself? Again, if you can, start getting some help. Start asking yourself some open-ended and prioritized questions, or come to somebody who can answer them for you. Start looking at questions yourself and get that full picture. Yeah. And then, if you feel you're slipping, try and establish a recovery plan as quickly as possible. If you're struggling, reach out and get some help. And then take some time to look back at what happened. Where did this come from? How did this happen? There are appropriate coping mechanisms. And if you look at them, they are amazing ways to reduce the challenges happening again. You can learn from this. Now, we also, on the back of this, we have to deal with these setbacks, okay? Now, if you have an eating disorder, okay, or a disordered eating, and your problems improve slightly to markedly, then it's a good idea to continue to deploy the strategies that have helped you most. Now, quite often I'd argue it's important to encourage you to stick to the regular eating principle, as this pattern of eating has the most mental health benefits. It has a plan. There are strategies that you need not practice for long periods, but effectively like tracking food. For example, the real-time monitoring, keeping your food diary, not saying tracking MyFitnessPal, but your mood, your time, your place, what you're at, your home performance. You don't need to do that from that. You need to do it all the time, because once you get a picture of it, you should feel you're slipping back, you can go back to it. Again, behavioural chain analysis. You do them for when you've had a slip, but you don't need to do it every time you have an argument with something. It's when you find that you're slipping. But what you need to do is be wary of stopping because you don't want to face ongoing difficulties. Things start feeling getting tough, that is not the time to stop. And it's common for quite often people who've broken the binge eating cycle to hope that they'll never get chopped again. That's a false hope, and that's a guaranteed way to get you into a bad place. And whilst hope is understandable, it's not helpful, and at times it can be somewhat unrealistic. What you should regard as a problem eating is it's an Achilles heel, right? It's going to be there. Sometimes you can react in different ways. So when we look at the triggers of setbacks, okay, setbacks are inevitable, right? And they're especially likely shortly after breaking through the sprint cycle. So once you feel you cracked it, like my client today, she thought she cracked it. This is amazing. And then, because she just could say take the foot off the gas, but she thought, I've got this under control. Okay? Now, there are so many possible events that can trigger a setback, and while some of these potential events are outside of your control, many are actually in your control. If you're in your control, you can deal with it. Now, one factor that we're in control is what we call diet rigidity. I can only need this, I can only do this, I'm only on chicken and broccoli, I'm only going to do 12 calories. All of that causes a massive problem, and that again creates the chance of binge eating reporting when you start cutting things back drastically because you've got no real control. Then we look at addressing these setbacks, okay? Given that setbacks are common, it's really important to put a plan for us to deal with them. Now, as I said, we don't need to see between a lapse and a relapse. Again, that lapse is a setback or a slip, whereas a relapse is returning back to square one. Again, you have two different meanings. But what we need to do is just be able to have a plan in place to do it. Now, to minimise the going backwards to a lapse, is we just need to be aware of the language used. Okay? And again, if we have a lapse, we need to stop it quickly. Again, that's why we talk about forgiveness and getting back on plan. Because as soon as you break that cycle, you just get the shame and guilt, it stops. What's important is you, as I say, get back on track immediately and keep using the strategies. The next thing is about how to deal with it. You need to spot the problem early. Now this is really important. If you feel that your eating's starting out of control, you start to binge, right? You need to do something about it. It sounds crazy, but you should. Okay? Don't think you can ride it out. Then do the right thing. Implement key strategies that you found useful in the past. Perhaps it is self-monitoring. Perhaps it's mindfulness. Perhaps it's having a food plan. Be proactive. Do something to minimise the chance of the future lapses. And the third step is identify and address the trigger. Again, using the tools you've got, the urge trackers and other things. Reflect on what causes setback. Because once you identify the right trigger, you can actually work to address it. You can engage in systematic problem solving, like I said, behavioural chain analysis. So, staying on track though is really important, okay? Because you just really do need to believe yourself and helping you move away from despair, frustration, and ability towards freedom, increase and serenity is really important. And that's one of the privileges of our job. Guiding people through the weirdest events of food, the feeling of helplessness and helplessness, take through is really important. But that comes with a challenge because you're going to, we all know when sometimes we know what to do, we don't want advice. Sometimes you just need a coach. Because if I tell people what to do, you know what, that doesn't work because I know that. I'm not going to do it because I know I shouldn't do it, but I've done it. So again, you just have to guide people. Again, why it's important. But what you have to remember in this process is all about learning, okay? And again, experiences and how you change it. So you just need to understand your process, okay? You need to believe in yourself. You need to reward those small successes, okay? Don't trade one problem behavior for another, because that's really important. You know, when you reach a short-term goal in a recovery plan, it's a tremendous success, okay? But think about what a trade-off would be. What can I reward? What can you instantly get and not related to food? What can that trade-off be? You know, could it be buying a new book? Could it be, booking some self-care? But be careful not to trade one problem off for another. Watch out for warning signs for addiction. Quite often you see people who give up smoking, put on weight, because they need something in their hands. Okay? And you got to be aware of that. Because again, when you switch addictions, it's this biophysical, psycho-social, spiritual reason. Okay? Simply removing one, right, addressing those four pillars of addiction, can make it quite unbalanced. And the four triggers I said are bio. So again, removing trigger foods, having a plan. Psycho, getting coaching support. Social, family, friendships, peer groups, passions, hobbies. And then spiritual is group work, part of church, meditation, everything like that for you and yourself. What you need to remember is that change never stops. So, 10 habits that you can use that promote emotional wellness. Now, first one is guard your self-esteem. Sounds quite odd, but learning to feel confident and comfortable with yourself is an important habit of protecting emotional wellness and safeguarding your well-being. Improve your attitude. Your outlook is one part of your emotional health that you can control each day. When negative things happen, when you start to feel negative, emotions creep in, turn those into positive thoughts. This is going to help you become more resilient too. Third one, be realistic. Okay? When you keep your expectations realistic, experience for yourself, as well as other people realistic, you're more likely to be happier, enjoy better outcomes, and learn more from your experiences. Unrealistic expectations set you up for failure and lower your self-esteem. Lower your stress level. Okay? Stress makes it difficult to manage your emotions well. And the hormones that are released when you're under stress can harm your health. Cortisol is terrible. Find enjoyable activities that help you cope with your stress, where possible. Eliminate the sources from your life. Then get enough quality sleep you mentioned earlier on. Sleep is so crucial for your emotional well-being and mental health. When you do not get enough, your emotional well-being will suffer again. You start eating later. You start having disturbed sleep. You don't have sleep for the rest of the day. It creates a terrible cycle for yourself. Then cultivate strong connections to others. Having strong health relationships can improve your emotional and physical health. Having a wide circle of friends and people you can rely on will help you have a healthy and happy time. And then do not stew, okay? When bad things happen in your life, it's important to process those and move on. Brooding over things that have already happened affects your mood and motivation. Then practice self-care, okay? Taking care of yourself is essential for this. This includes having a diet, engaging in activities you enjoy, taking a break when you need it, checking in with yourself regularly to make sure your needs are being met, finding work and leisure activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Then we talk about honouring your boundaries. When you have strong emotional health, you know when to set boundaries that honour your wellness, as well as how to keep others from disregarding those boundaries. Quite often I work with people who've got no boundaries. They're constantly running around with other people, they're people pleasing, they're doing everything else and they're never putting themselves first. And then, let me tell you something, find your personal development. Take that time for your personal growth, whether it's in the gym, whether it's studying others, learning new stuff. There are always opportunities to grow and develop. And then just remember your progress. Because what's important when you're dealing, if you've got a problem emotional eating, is you only got to do this one day at a time, or moment at a time, or one meal at a time. Now that's obviously, it's come from obese and long rest, and it's similar to the part of alcoholics, is that you've only got to do it one day. That's what you got to do, get every day. If you think about overeating, right? If you focus on that, how likely is it infinite stream of nows? So if you say, I'm not going to overeat now, I'm not going to rage eat now, it's always going to be now. Tomorrow, when it comes tomorrow, it's going to be from now. So focusing on the present and focusing on the moment is really important. And if you get stuck, reach out. Help, support, advice, guidance. Again, this is John, my details are improved. DM me at any time, I'll answer your questions privately. You don't have to ask them publicly. If I have these answer questions you've got, if you're reaching out, you're struggling, if you see some of the material in the group that you don't understand, drop me a message, because if it's important, then if you're asking it, someone else might ask me, I can do a video reply, John can put it in the group. But don't feel you're on your own in this journey. John's put this investment in getting me to support you, and I want to help as many. That's why I do this. I want to help as many people as I can.